Okay, that's it. Good morning. Welcome to the annual meeting of the Woodhaven Lakes Association, Woody's Inc., and Woodhaven Lakes Realty Incorporated, Sunday, August 25th, 2024, at 11:30 a.m. at our Recplex building. I'll call the meeting to order, and then the next order of business on here will be the approval of minutes. You all found the minutes were attached to your paperwork when you came in, so I will need a motion from the floor here to approve those minutes from last year. Could you state your section and lot number?
Steve Bell, 3112.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second?
Pat Service, Section 2, Lot 239.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay. I have the motion and I have a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next will be the treasury report, and I'm going to ask Laura Packwood to give that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, everybody should have a copy of the annual report. We're just going to go through it. If you'll turn to page 8. Can everybody hear me in the back? I just want to test the speakers. You can hear? Okay, good. All right. So we're going to go through the audit report and the summary of the funds and subsidiary operations. Copy of the consolidated March 31st, 2024 audit report is provided. And what you're seeing in front of you is just a breakdown of the change in the association equity. We did have some changes from last year's statement to because of the taxes, and I'm going to get into that as we go further. All right. If you'll please turn to page 9. Actually, in their book it's different. Is it different? Oh, but I have it from the book. You did? Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Tiger projection. Oh, okay, sorry. So page 9 states our 5-year projection summary for the 2024-25 budget. I wanted to kind of go over this with you a little bit because I just want everybody to be aware that our assessments, there's been a lot of talk about it, our assessments are frozen until 2026. The following schedule provides the information on the assessments and the operation assessments providing funding for the association activities, the lot fund, the Woodhaven Water and Sewer Utility Fund. Restricted assessments provide funding for the association reserves, new projects, and the water and sewer system, okay? So if you're looking at our 5-year summary, our actual assessment for the 24-25 year for lots with sewer were $1,157, and $276 went to restricted assessment, and $62 went to debt service, for a total assessment of $1,495. Lots without sewer, the operating assessment was $1,108. The restricted assessment was $236, and the debt service was $31, for a total assessment of $1,375. That will continue, and that is the projected assessment through 2026. Our projected assessment beyond 26 through 2029 will be as follows. The projected assessment for 2026-27 will be $1,650, and you can see the breakdown, and lots without sewer will be $1,535. And that will continue into 2029. The only thing that's going to change is going to be our operating assessment and our restricted assessment. Beyond 2029, our projected assessment is going to be $1,810 and for sewered lots, and $1,695 for unsewered lots. Okay? The reserve plan information for the association assets and water and sewer assets is based on projections using the inflation rate of 4% and an interest rate of 5%. Summary statistics of each reserve fund activities through the 2029-2030 fiscal year are provided below, and you'll see that chart, okay? As of March 31st, 2024, the association had an internal loan balance due to its reserve funds, which it is associated with the purchase of the water and sewer system assets. The loan on March 31st, 2024 balance is $3,870,000 $3,870,888. There's a typo, that 9 should actually be an 8. And is scheduled over amortization period ending April 1st of 2038, okay? If you go on to the page 13, we're gonna skip all the way to page 13. I wanna go through the audit. So on page 13, you're gonna see the independent auditor's report. So we're just gonna go through that a little bit. So we had Clifton Larson Allen as our auditing committee. We had several members of the internal audit committee that worked with them tirelessly for the last several months. Their opinion is very important, and it is very good for Woodhaven. It says, we have audited the accompanying consolidated financial statements of the Woodhaven Association and subsidiaries, the association, which comprise the consolidated balance sheets as of March 31st, 2024 and 2023, and the related statements of consolidated income and association equities and cash flows for the years then ended, and the related notes to the consolidated financial statements. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements referred to the above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the association as of March 31st, 2024 and 2023, and the consolidated results of their operations and their cash flows for the years ended in the accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. In short, what that means is we were given an unqualified opinion. An unqualified opinion is what we want. That is the best case scenario for an audit. So the basis of their opinion is they believe that the audit evidence that we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis of their audit opinion. So we did get a very good, clean audit this year. Adjustments prior to prior period. Now I do need to touch base on this a little bit, and we're going to go through it. So it says, as more fully described in footnote G, and I'm actually going to have you turn to page 23, please. The prior year consolidated financial statements have been corrected related to the change in the income taxes. This caused a change to net income, deferred income designated for future major repair and replacements, accounts payable, and equity for the year ending March 31st, 2023. Our opinion is not modified with respect to this matter. So on page 23, we're looking at the Woodhaven Association and its subsidiaries' notes to consolidated financial statements. Footnote G, correction to prior year, okay? So this is just gonna explain what happened, because by the time we had the annual report the annual meeting last year, our taxes had not been filed. So when we presented to the membership, we hadn't actually paid the taxes yet. So I want to just go over this with you. All right, correction to prior year. As a membership organization, the association is subject to corporate, federal, and state income taxes. For federal income tax purposes, the association files a consolidated tax return with its wholly owned subsidiaries. For state income tax purposes, the association files as a unitary business with its wholly owned subsidiaries. For the purpose of determining taxable income, assessments restricted for capital expenditures may not be subject to taxation. The association is generally taxed on non-membership income after deducting direct and allowable expenses on a reasonable and consistent basis. Membership income can be exempt from taxation on if certain elections are made. And if you look at the chart, the following completion of the March 31st, 2023 audit report, in August 2023, the association filed an extension for income tax filing to January 2024. So it was after the material had already been printed. Adjustments were made in the income tax filing process, which resulted in adjustments to the March 31st, 2023 financial report. So the last statement, now you can see the chart. It says for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2023, the association paid $41,094 in federal income taxes and $19,383 in state income taxes on investment income generated. For the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024, the association has prepared tax returns with $80,453 for federal income taxes and $40,041 for state income taxes on investment generated income. So while our return on investment is very good, we do have to pay tax on that. Okay. So now we're going to go back to page 14, please. Okay, so what I want to go over right now is what the judgment and how they maintained their skepticism, Clifton, Larson, Allen did as they were doing our audit. They were very thorough, they were very diligent. So in performing the audit in accordance with GAS, Clifton, Larson, Allen exercised professional judgment and maintained professional skepticism throughout the audit, meaning they questioned everything. They identified and assessed the risk of material misstatements of the consolidated financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, and design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks. Such procedures including examining on a test basis evidence regarding the amounts and disclosures in a consolidated financial statement. They obtained an understanding of the internal controls relevant to the audit to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the association's internal controls. Accordingly, no such opinion was expressed, which is good. We don't want an opinion. Evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of significant accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluate the overall presentation of the consolidated financial statement. And lastly, they concluded whether in their judgment, there are conditions or events considered in aggregate that raise substantial doubt for the association's ability to continue as a going concern for a reasonable period of time. It says they required to communicate those in charge of the governance regarding, among other matters, and plan the scope, timing of the audit, significant audit findings, and certain internal controls related to the matter they have identified. None were found, so we had no findings on that, which is really important, especially because of what happened in, 2022. Okay. So on page 15 is our consolidated balance sheet, and it consists of the March 31st, 2024 audit results and the restated 2023 that include the taxes being paid. So currently, for 2024, we ended the year with cash on hand in the bank restricted was $1,097,309. We had cash on hand in bank unrestricted of $5,100,807. In interest-bearing deposits in banks, we had $12,236,832. Okay. And then it goes on for interest receivables, prepaid expenses, property, plant, equipment. So our total assets ending the March audit for 2024 was $36,564,217, and that was up from the prior year of $35,579,778. Next page. So our total revenue for March 31st, 2024 was $13,013,740. As restated from 2023, that's up from $12,316,353. And then it shows our commissions paid, gross profit, total revenue from operations, operating expenses, net income from operations, other income, and it goes down to the last line that says association equity at the end of the year. So our total equity for the year ending March 31st was $11,072,980, and that is up from last year of $10,867,121. On page 17, you see our cash flow from operating expenses. I don't need to really go over that, except for I will go over cash and cash equivalents. Our beginning balance for 2024 was $4,848,510, and our ending balance was $6,198,116. Our cash payment to income taxes was $60,477. So on page 20, you can go through, I'm not going to go through all of the footnotes. So on page 20, footnote A is a continuation of nature of business and significant accounting policies. The one thing that I'd like to point out, and it is the big one for our association because we're really not used to this until recently. The association files its tax returns as a regular corporation wherein membership income is exempt from taxation if certain elections are made, and the association is taxed on only its non-membership income, as I stated before, such as interest earnings and net rental property income at a regular corporate rate. The key statement here is the association has income tax expense of $120,494 and $60,477 for the years ending March 31st, 2024 and 2023 respectively. Generally accepted accounting principles prescribe a recognition threshold and measurement attribute for the consolidated financial statement, recognition and measurement of tax positions taken or expected to be taken on tax returns. The association has determined that it does not have any significant risk related to income tax expense, and therefore no amounts were reserved for uncertain positions for March 31st, 2024 and 2023. The association has evaluated subsequent events through August 8th, 2024, which is the date of these financial statements were available and to be issued. All subsequent events requiring recognition as of March 31st have been incorporated. So you can see our investment securities. I'm not going to go over it. You can take a look at that. We have footnote C on page 21, which is our long-term debt. The association detailed financial statements include the internal loan obligation due to its restricted reserve fund from purchase of the water and sewer system in 2008. On March 31st, 2023, this loan obligation reported a balance of $4,056,540. A principal interest payment of $348,225 was applied against this obligation, and the outstanding balance on March 31st, 2024 is reported at $3,870,888. The terms and conditions apply for a 4% fixed rate to the outstanding balance, which is scheduled to be amortized over the period ending April 1st, 2038. All entries associated into this internal loan obligation are eliminated through principles of consolidation. Now on page 22, I just want you to take a look at footnote F, because we have not, this is new to the annual report. This is just for your information, but it's a nice breakout of what our actual investment property and equipment is valued at, what our depreciation value at, and what our book value is currently, and what it was for 2023 and 2024. So the total depreciation expenses for the years ending March 31st, 2024 and 2023 for $1,502,204 for 2024 and $1,417,662 for 2023 respectively. Included in the land costs for 24 and 23 are the association-owned lots and are recorded in the lot fund. These lots are held for Camp Coast to Coast program as well as for promotional purposes and therefore are not primarily held for sale. The balance of these lots for the years ending March 31st, 2024 and 2023 was $26,612 and that did not change. Okay, if you'll turn to page 24. At the top of the page, it talks about future major repairs and replacements. I kind of want to go over this because a lot of people don't understand what our reserves are held for. The association's governing documents require that funds be accumulated for future major repairs and replacements. And that list is included on page 22. So those are our property, plant, and equipment, and those are the assets that are eligible and will need replacement or repair at one time or another. Accumulated funds are held in separate savings accounts and are generally not available for expenditures for normal operations. The association has two separate reserves for its capital assets. One is for the water and sewer system asset, and the other is for the remaining association-owned assets. The association conducted studies to estimate the remaining useful lives and the replacement costs of the components of common property and use this information to estimate future costs. The total actual reserve for March 31st, 2024 amounted to $15,967,710. $3,355,000 for water and sewer is its own reserve fund, and $12,612,710 in the association reserve fund. Actual expenditures may vary from the estimated future expenditures on the variations, and variations may be material amounts accumulated in the replacement fund and may not be adequate to meet all future needs for major repairs and replacements. If additional funds are needed, the association has the right, subject to Board of Directors approval, to increase regular assessments, pass a special assessment, borrow funds, or delay major repairs and replacements until funds are available. Now, we've been very fortunate because even since the tornado, we've never had to impose a special assessment on any property owner. Okay. And I believe, page 25, you can take a look at the deferred reserve funds. Again, this lists out all of our assets, and this is what our reserve funds are being built for, to pay for these repairs and or replacements. Page 26 goes over the estimated remaining useful lives of all of our assets. And page 27 goes over as well. So using the association's asset and reserve balance and estimated future replacement costs, the association has estimated that the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025, the required assessment for 100% funding would be $3,757,482. The Board of Directors approved assessing in the fiscal year ending 2025, going for next year, 21% of the amount recommended by the study. Accordingly, approximately $799,100 of the assessments has been included into the fiscal year 2025 budget that we're currently in. Based on projected expenditures and stated contributions for fiscal year ending 2025, the association asset reserves are projected to total approximately 76% of the study's recommended reserve on March 31st, 2025. And on page 28 and 29, this goes over the water and sewer assessments. It shows what our remaining estimated useful life is for each of those assets within that fund. And on page 29, using the water and sewer system assets, reserve balance, and estimated future replacement costs, the association has estimated that for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025, the required assessment for 100% of funding would be $1,119,271. The Board of Directors has approved assessing in the fiscal year ending 2025, 32% of the amount recommended by the study. Accordingly, approximately $354,000 of the assessments has been included in the fiscal year 2025 budget. Based on projected expenditures and the above assessment level for fiscal year ending 25, the water and sewer system asset reserves are projected to total approximately 78% of the study's recommended reserves on March 31st of 2025. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, next item on the agenda is election report, and I will turn that over to Charlie.
Okay, the report of the 2024 Board of Election Report. Total mailed-in envelopes received, 782. Total online votes received, 914. Ballots not counted for unpaid assessments, 18. There was adjudicated ballots, overvoting of 3, and duplicate ballots, online paper of 6, with total ballots tabulated 1,679. Total vote that counted 5,037. Less short votes of 1,168. Therefore, total votes cast 3,869. In the general election results, Dan Rossi, 1,199 votes. Laura Packwood, 1,216 votes. John Shefchik, 1,180 votes. And then there was numerous write-in votes of 274. Again, total votes cast, 3,869. Therefore, elected to the Board of Directors for the term of 2024 to 2028, Dan Rossi, Laura Packwood, John Shefchik. End of report.
Thank you, Charlie. Next up, we'll have the Executive Director's Report, Mr. Hickey.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Laura. You didn't leave anything for me to talk about.
You
But I
told
will
me not.
anyway. I'm gonna stand up because I like to see eye contact, and hopefully I won't put you to sleep. But I've got about 3 issues that I want to kind of focus on today. So the first that I want to talk about is our organizational structure and how it's developed and how it's been created. And for you to do that, you got to kind of understand a little of our history. Am I not close enough to this? All right, I can bellow louder, Pam, if you need me to. Is that good? All right. All right. Okay, so basically, what I want to do is I'm just going to start, and this is going to be hopefully as brief as I can make it for you, but to give you some perspective how we got to where we are here at Woodhaven today. So I think we all know that Woodhaven was established in March of 1971. There was a developer that had a vision for this place, and he created what was originally deemed the world's largest campground. So from 1971 to 1986, the developer was heavily involved in this facility. So the developer has a little different concept when they're doing things than you as an association have. So a community association is not interested in profit. A developer is. So you have a conflicting message that sometimes develops over that time. So we had one developer that went bankrupt. We had a second developer that came in. And so over that 16-year period, 15-year period, there was a lot of growth and separation and a lot of conflict that developed because of that differing perspective as to what was expected. In 1986, the association left the developer. So the developer's control over the board, the developer's control over the messaging and what you were doing as an organization changed in 1986, and it became your responsibility. A lot of things were happening at that time, okay? So in a tendency, a developer will suppress owner assessments. They will limit investment in long-term maintenance, and they're focused on getting you to buy their property for a profit. When those concepts compete with what you want as a community, which is a community that hopefully thrives in the future and survives in the future, that creates problems. So in 1986, when this was turned over to the association, there was a lot of problems. You had inferior structures and buildings that we were trying to manage. They did not take care of the equipment. We didn't have any money. We were borrowing about $1 million from our future operating assessments to pay our bills. That's the environment that we came into, and I've kind of labeled this time period of 1986 to 1993. So keep in mind, I wasn't here for some of this. I was pretty young in the early years of Woodhaven, but I did come to Woodhaven in 1990. So I came in the middle of 1986 to 1993 at Woodhaven. And so what was developing is you were in the infantile stages of determining your board and how you wanted to operate. You were trying to get your governing documents secure and established, and you had a lot of opinions, and you had a lot of conflict. You had tremendous turnover in boards, and you had tremendous turnover in your administration. During that time period, I'm not sure if I have it exactly right, but there were at least 6 general managers. There might have been 7 general managers from 1986 to 1986 to 1993. I came here in 1990. From 1990 to 93, I was the 4th person to hold that title. That's tough. I mean, there's other things that were going on. You had residency conflict, and I'll touch on that a little bit. All of the conflicting ideas that were evolving, and again, you didn't have any money. You couldn't do a lot of the things you wanted to do. You couldn't take care of your property. A couple other timelines to kind of put into that. Your Woody Inc. operation, your Woodhaven Lakes Realty operation started about 1983. So they were developed kind of outside the umbrella of the developer, and they were integrated in, but they were also in their infantile stages. And there was conflict about them. Some people didn't want them. The local communities didn't want us taking their revenue away from them. I can go into a lot of the things I heard. I can't substantiate all of them. What I want to kind of talk about is that you had a gentleman by the name of Charles Frazier who was on your board. You owe a debt of gratitude to this man because he had a vision and he had some things that we are still building today. Charles Frazier and Karen Roach came to me because I told Karen, you're the assistant general manager, I'll support you. Go up there, get up there, take charge. We'll see how long you can last. And they came back to me and said, how about a co-management idea? What if we go with an executive director and a general manager? And that's sort of evolved as our organizational structure. What really helped us is that Chuck Frazier was your president from 1992 to 2006.
Wow.
So we were able to cut our teeth, learn from our mistakes and our immaturity and different things because we had some stability, and it allowed us to get our feet underneath us during that time period. A lot of the things that we took care of, early development of the governance structure here at Woodhaven. Oh, excuse me, wrong bullet point. Let me move down to another one. Clarity on our objectives. One of the biggest things that I walked into in 1990 was a conflict about whether we were a place for people to retire and live at, or whether we were a recreational community. And the conflict that was developing resulted in a lot of people that were violating your covenants. So beginning in 1993, but over many years, a lot of work was put into providing clarity about this community and that it's a recreational community. So we addressed the residential use violations. We've established a plan that controls it and protects it. And we confirmed that through 2 major renovations of your CNRs. So we redrafted the CNRs in 1995, and we redrafted them again in 2015. And both of those redrafts were done to, among other things, but to solidify our identity so that we were kind of moving in a single direction. We established and implemented a financial plan that was based on stability and that gave us the power to survive certain things. Now in 1993, like I said, in 1990, we borrowed $1 million from our future assessments to pay our bills. And we kept chasing that cycle. It took time. It didn't happen overnight. What we did also is we developed a strategic plan for the sports core area. So those of you that have been here long enough know that none of this existed in the manner that it is. This building was your general store. Okay, and we had an ice cream thing over here, and we had freezers and coolers in the back, and we had a restaurant over there, we had a bait shop over there, we had a bank over there, and we had a one-way drive through the middle of what we now use as our common recreational area. That strategic plan in committee developed that, and then we began to fund it and build it. And so the first stages of that started in 1990, transferred over to what you see today. In addition to that, we completed millions of dollars of improvements out here. All of the comfort stations except for 4 and 6 have been rebuilt. Your roads have been resurfaced and upgraded from what was here. Both pool facilities, the Pool 1 facility was replaced, I believe, in around 1993, 94, 95. The Pool 2 facility received a major overhaul shortly after that. Trying to think of anything, multiple dredging projects, all kinds of things that we had to deal with. And our goal when we built our plan was to provide you with some financial stability so you knew what to expect. We also celebrated our 25th year and our 40th year during this time period. We also bought the water and sewer company. Now, I want to tell you a little story about Chuck. Chuck, from the day he started working with me, said, we should have bought that when the developer sold it in 1986. And I'd look at him and say, Chuck, but you had no money. How could you buy that? And so we did this argument, and I never fully understood what he meant until I saw what happened when it got sold to a private company and what happened to you and your rates and what drove you to make the decision to spend $10.5 million to buy that company, or to buy those assets. We didn't buy the company, we bought the assets. We wouldn't have been able to do that in the early days. We also managed to survive a tornado in 2015 that created more than $2 million in damages to our common properties and our stuff. That doesn't count all the individual private damage that was done. And literally thousands of properties were damaged, and we have survived that. And it's part of what's going into the transitional plan. So in 2019, Karen and I were talking about where do we see Woodhaven's future? Where do we want to go? How do we want to build a structure to help prevent the repeating of what we came through. Because we certainly don't want the future management at Woodhaven to go through what Karen and I went through in the early 90s. Our goal was to devise a structure. One of the first things I told her was, when I looked back at what I saw those general managers put up with, I didn't want that job. You had a very flat structure with 10 or 12 direct reports. You had 7 board members funneling to the general manager. There is no way that a person can handle that by themselves. So what we built and what you see when you look at, I hope I have the pages right, pages 11 and 12 is some semblance of our current organizational structure and why it has developed to where it is. We've already started to experience the succession planning that we've been talking about. Rick Farringer, after 40 years, is retired from public safety. Jerry Corcoran, don't remember his exact years, 25, 26, recently retired. We have turnover in our stores and in our operations, and you're gonna have turnover up here at this table. And I don't mean that to be anything more than it happens. I'm getting close. Greg is getting closer. But what we're trying to do is to build a structure that allows us to grow and learn from our experiences. In other words, we're trying to pass on as much as we can to that next layer, which includes Sam and Justin, Wayne, Tim, you're part of our crew, by the way. Ryan, I don't know if there's anybody else here today that I missed, but I'm hoping that your future leaders are in that group. And I'm hoping that when they come forward and they have the opportunity to lead this organization and to help guide the boards and you through this, that they're prepared for it and they're ready to do it. And that's what we've built here. It's not just building things and buildings and taking care of things. There's another aspect of what we're trying to do. And I wanted to make sure that you understood that and you could sort of see why these pieces are in place and why they are shaped the way they are. One thing I want to comment on is I appreciate what Laura talked about with your 5-year plan, but one of the other things that I want to also mention, it's not to be a downer, but we are in the middle of our 3-year fixed rate for assessments. We have experienced some of the highest inflation rates that could be occurring, and we have a number of major projects on the horizon that are going to need to be attended to. And so it's very unlikely that you will see those numbers stay where they're at. I would love to be able to tell you they'll go lower, but I don't think it's possible. If you look at what all of us are dealing with in our homes, what we're dealing with in everything else, there is a lot of upward pressure and it's coming. Now, our idea with a 3-year plan is to keep it stable for you. We are fine. It's not a crisis point, but we are planning and seeing what's on the horizon. You have an aquatic facility at Pool 2 that is over 50 years old. We've had trouble with it. It is on your horizon. We have a water sewer treatment plant that we bought that some people who didn't know what we dealt with in 2008 may say, well, why are we having to pay for all of this? Well, I'm going to guarantee it's a lot cheaper for us to do it and manage it and find the professionals than it is if you let somebody else do it, because somebody else wants to make money off of it. And so all of those things are in our plan. And when I look at like $15 million, $16 million in reserves, I have people say, well, God, that's a lot of money, okay? But if you look at those pages that Laura talked about, so on page 26 and you look at page 28, I want you to look at the estimated future replacement cost of your assets on those 2 pages, and then tell me that 15 million is too much. It's not, okay? I don't know where the number is, and that's the challenge that the people that sit in these chairs have to face all the time. And that kind of leads into my next concept or idea that I want to touch on with the membership. And part of this is kind of driven by, it's just kind of weird. Does anybody know how long I've been here?
34 years.
You're right. Woodhaven is. So the last point, which does fit with us, is homeowners or community associations. However, I want to stress that homeowner association, condominium association, community association does not make clarity for us. It actually adds to the complexity. Because these organizations are typically organized as a 501c4. So a homeowners association, a condominium association, that's how they are organized. What I want to stress is when I go to a legislative action committee and I want to fight for things that we deal with as a community organization, and we're lumped in with homeowners and condominiums. We're lumped in with homeowners associations and condominium associations. There's more of them than there are of us. And so when they start debating and discussing guidance and governance, there's things that work for us, but there are also things that don't fit for us. So let me show you the definition of homeowners associations that are in that classification, and they're defined as social welfare organizations, by the way. That's for a community association that works to improve public services, housing, and residential parking, publishes a free community newspaper, sponsors a community sports league, holiday programs and meetings, and contracts with a private security service to patrol the community. Now, there's little dabbles in there that work with us. We do control our community, we take care of our community, we have a newspaper, we do a lot of programming. Because we own a utility company, there's some public stuff, so there's a possible fit there, but there's other layers to us that prevent us from even going there. The other community association that's a 501c4 is an association that's devoted to preserving the community's traditions, architecture, and appearance by representing it before the local legislature, the administrative agencies in zoning, traffic, and parking matters. Doesn't fit with us. What I have found in just my sampling of going and meeting with other managers that manage community associations is that I have found that the majority of those communities are located within the umbrella of a municipality. So what they have is their gated community in a municipality, which municipality has overriding governance over that or over some of the improvements in there. And so that adds another layer of complexity when you think about what Woodhaven is. We are in an unincorporated part of the state of Illinois. We're located in Lee County, Illinois. We are a private entity, and we are in control of our own government. And we have to determine and navigate all of this stuff so that we can give you what you're looking for. So, Woodhaven is a common interest community association. That is the new term that has been recently developed in the industry. You own something. Own and maintain recreational areas and facilities. Profit entities that are in most 501c7 organizations. And so in our context, that would be your recplex sales, your mini golf, your boat rentals, your bait shop sales, any kind of other unrelated business activity that's connected to either recreation or services from the association. Where we get to another level is we own two subsidiary operations. They're called Woody Inc. and Woodhaven Lakes Realty. They are for-profit subsidiaries. That's how they were organized. That was their intent. That was how they were pitched to you 30 years ago. A little more than 30 years, maybe 40 now. Can't do math in my head very well. So that adds another bit of conflict, because in order for us to grow our business, we have to get more money from you. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? But most of you are responsible for why that entity exists. And so the balancing act that you have is you've got to balance your profit motives with your service-based motives and try to come up with that happy medium for the person who doesn't want to shop at the local community, so they don't want to subsidize any portion of it, and then those who say we want to go get more. Okay, and those, and so the argument that I want to kind of present to you and make sure you understand, we operate our Woody Inc. facility at about a 30% margin. And we hear constantly that the prices are too high and on all these other things. And it's a mix, because it depends on where you shop and what your experiences are, but we don't have the competitive advantages of some of the bigger things that we're often compared with. But I want you to understand something. We get about $3 million in gross sales, actually close to $4 million in gross sales at the 30% margin, generally speaking. If you reduce your price 15%, I gotta get $8 million from you, just to keep even. Okay, so we are constantly battling that challenge as well when we manage our facilities and we work through our facilities. Point is to let you know there's a lot that goes into this place. There's a lot that goes on into the complexity that we are. So my third area is sort of patterned after what we talked with the volunteer committee or the volunteer dinner last week. But what is Woodhaven? And in my opinion, Woodhaven is a community that gives more than it receives. That's what you are. You give way more than you receive. And how I talk about that, and I want to stress this, is we have a simple mission statement. We are a private leisure time community for enjoyment by its property owners, their families, and their guests. That's our objective. And that clarity was determined a long time ago when we took care of the residency issues and we took care of some of those other things. And we've been able to prosper because of it. Now, we've also been very lucky because during that time period, we also had really great economic issues that helped us. You had reducing interest rates, you had low inflation. You know, if you go from 90 to the present day, it's been pretty good if you're a financial analyst looking back at it. If you do the same thing from the middle 80s to the middle 90s, you would go, oh my God, that was a crazy time. I forgot to mention something now that I talked about that, but back at that time, there was 6% delinquency in addition to borrowing that $1 million, and you owned 200 of your properties. You had approximately 9+% of your membership not productively contributing to your community. Today, it's less than 1%. We own one lot for sale right now. So all of that stuff plays into how we've been able to grow and expand and become the community that we are. When I look at our future, I'm worried because this is a different time. I've never lived it or experienced it, but it's coming, whether it's inflation or other things, and we have a plan for that. We also have a succession plan for that. Anyway, got off my point. Back to the community that gives more than it receives. We provide that escape from the daily grind, quality time with your family and friends. That's what Woodhaven's about, in my opinion. This is accomplished on the premise that no one individual receives benefits from the association's activities. There's no single owner. There's no group of owners. There's no conglomerate that makes money. It doesn't exist. I've heard it for 40 years. It doesn't exist. The board of directors are volunteers. In fact, almost your entire governance is volunteers. People that give their time and give back to their community. In addition to that, we provide about 70 full-time jobs to people like me, Amy and Randy, Ryan, Tim, Wayne, that are able to provide varying disciplines. In other words, we need a lot of varied talent to run this place. You know, we're not making widgets, and we just need a bunch of people to work in the manufacturing line to keep things going down the line. We have a lot of different services. We need a lot of different talented people. With that, we're able to support our families. I'm able to raise my kids. They're off to college now. I'm getting one married in a couple weeks and another one married next year. And but their life has also been part of Woodhaven. It has for a lot of our staff. You know, we support our local taxing bodies. There's also challenges that we deal with in our lives, but that's part of what we give. This is something Amy and I have talked about, and we want to emphasize. Thousands, and I mean thousands, of first-time employees have learned from their experience as a Woodhaven employee. They've gone on to be very successful and productive members of our society in all kinds of disciplines. You probably name it. I guarantee you we'll find somebody that worked for us at some point in time. In addition to those 70 full-time employees, we employ about 130 to 140 seasonal positions here at Woodhaven. Something else that I picked up on and that I wanted to share with you as a group. We do attendance estimates on a week-to-week basis. So basically, with our gate system that we have the ability to take a 7-day period and say how many lots came in and how many passes were coming in during that time period. And so we've been accumulating that data for years. But the data that I think comes is that when you're evaluating economic impact, you evaluate how many times you hit a particular area. Woodhaven owners hit this area on a weekly basis 100,000 times a year. Those are important things, and that's part of who we are. Now, there are some exceptions, and what I'm sharing with you, we have our trials and our tribulations along the way, but we find solutions, we get through them. But the ones that come to mind most recently are the tornado and COVID. We got tremendous help from the local communities during that event in 2015. We also participated in getting some of the money that they were giving away during COVID. But outside of those two things, you take care of yourself here. And I find that to be pretty damn impressive when I look at it. And so that's my last point, but before I turn it over to Dan, I want to share what I found to be a really interesting statistic. I went to see, now you've heard I've been here 34 years. Some of you were here last week, so you can't say, but how many board members have sat in these chairs in my 34 years? What would you guess? The number is 38. 38. That's it. In 34 years, there's only been 38 people that have decided to sit in one of these chairs that I've been here. Now, I could go back farther, but I'm using my time period. If you take the 7 individuals that are currently sitting in here, and you take out the 7 that I ate, actually, because there was, I think, a vacancy that developed in the first year I was here. I can't remember it actually, but there's only been 23 different people in between those two boards that have volunteered to sit at this table. They put up with a lot, and we need to remember that. Dan, it's yours.
Thank you very much, Jeff. You're always a tough act to follow, but I'll do what I can here. The only thing I'll guarantee is it'll be a little quicker. One back. Okay, the state of our association. Over the course of 50-plus years, Woodhaven Association has weathered many storms, both literally and figuratively. At the very onset of the last fiscal year, 23-24, we had to endure yet another literal storm in the form of an EF2 tornado. While damage did not rise to the level and extent experienced during the tornado of 2015, there were still 520 lots, along with several association buildings and common grounds, adversely affected by the tornado. Woodhaven property owners and staff seemed to thrive and work together best in the face of adversity, and such was the case once again, reflecting our mantra of Woodhaven Strong. While dealing with critical effects of tree storm damage is an immediate need, managing and maintaining Woodhaven's natural resources, including our forests, lakes, and wildlife, requires a long-term commitment and sustained effort. Throughout the years, past boards and staff have identified and developed many programs and services, most often requiring some level of ongoing financial obligation, to help safeguard our natural resources, remain healthy and balanced for our and future generations. One of the best examples of this commitment to our preservation of our environment is our oak wilt program. In the early 1990s, Woodhaven's board and staff recognized the importance of combating the spread of oak wilt disease throughout Woodhaven's forest by funding costs associated with identifying and removing trees with oak wilt, both from private property and common areas. Over the past 30-plus years, your association has allocated millions of dollars within the oak wilt program alone to help ensure the preservation of our forest and our ecosystem. During the fiscal year 23-24, your current board of directors identified the potential need to manage one of Woodhaven's most recognizable natural resources, the Woodhaven deer herd. In May 2023, we appointed a deer ad hoc committee to help determine if there is an overpopulation of deer within Woodhaven, and if necessary, recommend a deer management program to help maintain a well-balanced and healthy deer herd. Through extensive data collection, review, and information from industry and wildlife experts, the Deer Management Committee at their February 2024 meeting voted unanimously that there is an overpopulation of deer at Woodhaven. The committee has recently presented the board of directors with a two-part plan for consideration and potential future implementation to help control Woodhaven's deer population to healthy levels. As always, the board will thoroughly review, debate, and discuss the merits of this program and ultimately make a decision that is beneficial for Woodhaven as a whole. While it's hard to argue that most owners come here because of Woodhaven's natural beauty and serenity, I also firmly believe our services, facilities, and amenities are second to none. Our staff takes great pride and exceptional care of all our facilities, and that is reflected in the ongoing maintenance and excellent condition of our grounds and our buildings. Unfortunately, during facility inspections following the tornado last season, staff discovered several structural problems with Woodhaven's oldest remaining building, the Lakeside Center. The building, which predated Woodhaven, was closed most of last season and was ultimately demolished in February of 2024 because it was determined repairs were too extensive and expensive for its age. We are now in the process of developing and executing a replacement plan for the building, which includes providing a new workout area with updated equipment and comfortable space, remote workspace, with internet access and other limited business features. The greatest challenge we face as a board is to make good decisions that are in the best interest of the association as a whole, while at this time recognizing, understanding, and servicing the needs of each individual as best as possible. With that, there will always be a constant need for balance at Woodhaven, whether it is between the needs of many or the wants of a few, or providing the resources and funding necessary to provide a wide variety of programs and amenities for our very diverse membership. I believe your current board of directors and excellent staff is up to that challenge, and will support, and the input from our members will continue to remain Woodhaven strong in the face of any storm we encounter. Okay, next item is acknowledgements. If you turn to page 10 in your book, you'll see we have all the different committees and board of reviews and section reps on there. I'm not going to go through and name everybody. What I do is call out each section, and if the members of that are here, would you please just stand up so everyone can see who you are? We'll start with the section reps and alternates. Any of them here, please stand up. Also, with that group, there are some openings. If anybody's interested, please contact the office. You can send up a speak-up sheet or come to the next section rep meeting and talk to Lori Pico, who's the chair of that committee. Next is our volunteer committees. First one is ESAC Board of Review. If they would please stand. I do want to mention, we did leave one person off by accident, Judy Gonzalez, who I'm sorry, we'll get you added. Public Safety Board of Review, if any members here would stand. Facilities Planning Committee, please stand. Finance Committee, please stand. Communications Committee. Deer Management Ad Hoc Committee. Our Audit Committee. The Environmental Committee. And our Election Committee. We thank you very much. Without the volunteers, we couldn't do what we do here today. Thank you. Okay, next item on there is our member business from the floor. We're going to ask if you'd come up. Please give us your name and your section and lot number. Okay.
Hi. Are we on?
You're on.
Okay. Hey, my name is Bob. I'm from Section 10. And good afternoon to the Association Management and the Board of Directors.
What's your lot?
284.
Thank you.
So I have a few things to say here, about 5 minutes. Mr. Rossi, with your permission, I'll
Go ahead.
continue. Thank you. I'd like to begin first by addressing the executive management team. Jeff Hickey, Amy Eckert, Randy Kohler, and Greg Demig. I'm extremely encouraged by your dedication and willingness to do all the essential tasks that are required to operate this park, our park. As I have learned over the many years how intricate and complex Woodhaven Lakes is, my appreciation for what you do increases. The staff that you have hired in the various departments do an excellent job, as well as the crew that keeps our park looking so beautiful. It's to be saluted. The park looks good all the time. It does. It sparkles. The staff that you have hired to take care of our recreation department is to be extolled. From spending time painting a flower pot with a 4-year-old kid, and they also arrange for the top shelf entertainment, like at the pavilion here every Saturday. Last night, if you were there, I mean, it was something else. When they line up all the entertainment and all the activities for the park, they do a tremendous job, just a tremendous job. And then they do all kinds of things like like the BMX bike show. They got the flying dogs out here, fishing tournaments, all that pumpkin stuff that they do. I mean, how do they do it? I'm not sure, but everybody has fun when they come here. The kids come, they just have a riot. Other departments do a great job as well. Public safety and ESAC, admin in the office there at True Value, Woody's, the grocery store, the nature center, Rusty, and they all do a real good job. It's just, nothing really to beef at. And I thank you, Jeff and Amy, Randy and Greg. I thank you. And to the board of directors, we elected you and we support you. Yeah. That's right. Not everyone, and not on every issue, but for the most part, we stand behind you. As you know, oftentimes I stand before the board of directors and I openly, respectfully, politely, and appropriately state my business. You guys listen and respond. Sometimes I don't like the response. Sometimes I don't like the one I'm getting it from either. But I come here and I do it. You know, I do it because I'm a section representative, so most of the time I'm here representing somebody in my section. You know, these aren't all my beefs. And, but there are some, and there are few, not many, but there are some cowardly people here who troll the internet with pseudonyms, fake accounts, phony Facebook names. And, you know, and those are the few haters I'm talking about, you know. Quit running our park down. Just stop that stuff. Yeah. If you have something to say to those people, if you have something to say, you come up here in front of everybody and you say it. And you bring it before the board like you're supposed to do. And if you don't want it, you got a section rep. Some sections are missing a rep, but if you don't, you go to your section rep and you ask them, and they'll come up here and they'll represent you. That's what you elected them for. So talk to your rep and have them come up here and say what you got to say. But yeah, you know, get out of the darkness there. You know, it's going to bring you nowhere. So anyway, so I do thank the board of directors for what they do. You know, a famous Englishman once said, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you'll find you get what you need. So get involved personally. Stand here and state your case. You can do it. I do it. Just get up here and talk, that's all. Write it down, make a note, and get up and talk, and that's all. And finally, I want to acknowledge that the board of directors serves with no emolument. That means hours and hours of meetings, planning, decision-making, organization, designing, with no pay, nothing, nothing. Now, I attend a few meetings. I'm a section rep, and I go to a few of those meetings. I attend the finance meeting now and then, or planning meeting, whatever. But all the time, you're at all these meetings. It's a lot of time. Now, there's no bigger fan of me than me. And even on my best day, I wouldn't do what the board of directors does without pay. I just couldn't do it. So, I mean, you really put out, and I really thank you for that. That's really good. Yeah. So I just want to thank the board of directors, and I want to thank the management of Woodhaven for all you do for us.
Hi, good afternoon now. I'm Pamela Smith, 7209. I would just like to acknowledge everything that the Nature Center has done this year. I know I mentioned it at the section rep meeting, but the Nature Center's game has really stepped up this year, and I want to make sure that they are all acknowledged. The crafts and activities and everything that they are doing is really blowing everybody away, and I just want to make sure that they are all acknowledged properly at the end of the season. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else? Yes. Whoop.
It's a little tall for me.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Victoria Murphy. I'm from Section 7, Lot 127, and Lot 159. I submitted a speak-up sheet this weekend. I just want to bring it up to the board. There's just something in the rules and regulations that I'd like reviewed, and it's the second trailer rule. Now, I agree that we should control, people shouldn't sneak having 2 trailers on their lot, but I think it's a little restrictive. Right now, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, you're only allowed 2 incidences, 2 permits, and you can have a trailer up there for up to 14 days, but you can only have the 2 permits. So I think it should continue to be maybe a max 28 days, but more incidences instead of 2, maybe 4 or 6, where it's maybe 2 to 4 days or whatever. But I think just having 2 options for up to 14 days is very restrictive. A lot of times we have guests up for the weekend, 4 days. And so, you know, with sleeping quarters, I don't like it that we only have a tent option. we'd like to have maybe a pop-up or one of those small bunkhouses. And so I think it's just something to be considered, especially with the prices of lots these days. It's getting harder for us to own 2 lots. And so, so I would like that to be reviewed, so that we have more opportunity to have visitors on our lot, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Donald Smagach. I'm 1316. I want to bring up about the propane pig situation. I think it should be, instead of just the $100 towards a new pig, how about $100 to something on Woodhaven property that you can spend your money on? Thank you.
Hey, Carl.
Yes, me.
What? Hey, Carl.
It's the mayor.
Hey, I didn't make last year's. Carl Hecht, Section 7, Lot 161. That better?
Yes.
See, I had it down too low. I grew. Carl Hecht, Section 7, Lot 161. I would like to say to the board, management, staff, all the volunteers of all the committees, and all of the membership of Woodhaven, thank you, because right, wrong, or indifferent, we're all one.
Finally got your turn.
I agree. Of course, everybody here is awesome. I'm just going to take a few minutes here. I want to
Name and lot number.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Bonnie Lowry, 9-146. So I'm just going to take a few minutes here. I want to comment on the deer management. I'm not trying to open a discussion, just have a few points that I wanted to bring to the board members since this is coming, probably to a discussion. I'm opposed to the order and the aggressiveness of that the operations submitted to you guys, and I just wanted to give that point of view. Shocked that we jumped right into sharpshooting as the first main option. I helped build that plan. It's a good one, but that's kind of an if plan in my opinion. If we must do any kind of culling, that's definitely the plan to follow, and it's expensive. But that is, in any case, it's if. There's so many things that we should be doing prior to that. There's long-term implications with sharpshooting versus there's an optional thing we submitted to you guys about working with outside property owners, and I'm sure there's other things we could come up with. So I'd like to start that as a starting point, and how wonderful to not have to have firearms inside our park, because it's our peaceful retreat also. And we have to remember that there were 53% of the property owners that didn't think anything needed to be done. So we have a balance here. We have obviously very strongly opinionated property owners that definitely need something done, others that do not. So I'd like to meet somewhere in the middle for that, and maybe not jump in to something so aggressive. There's a deer problem in Woodhaven because there's a deer problem in Lee County and northern Illinois. And when I personally voted that there was an overpopulation, it was because, well, you can't not say there is when there is throughout the whole county. So my fear is, we're gonna spend $35,000 taking out X number of deer that within a matter of months are gonna be able to roll right back in because there's a huge population outside. I don't see why we can't spend less money, work with the outside property owners. And I know that's difficult, and I know it may not be as fast, but I don't think we have to fix this overnight. We're not the only problem around here. Many other parks, we got the Audubon Society, many private properties full of wooded property that are loaded with deer also. I just don't know that this is that we're the only ones that have to address this. I think we need to start this mindfully, cautiously. If we remember back when IDNR first started culling deer due to CWD, they went in hard, they went in aggressive. And they really took a hit on that. They got bad publicity, people that were criticized, publicized, became unwelcome in many places, people pushed back. I think we need to watch that, maybe learn from their mistakes. Let's not start so hard. I'm not arguing some management here, but we start too hard I think that could go bad just as well. Once again, go back to let's look at some other options, let's work on the outside. And there is a possibility that CWD is extremely close to Woodhaven at this point. If that's the case, IDNR would be more involved. That would be free of charge. There's some problems with that too. They'll take 20% of the area, which is going to be more than what we counted in here. It's going to be including whatever their 5-mile radius is. So if it comes to where it's a higher population, they may take more. It subtracts some with hunting. Nonetheless, they will be taking some deer. We were working also with property owners. We would also be at a much, much cheaper cost helping to remove some deer. Anyway, I'd just like to see that thought of. And I'd like to refer back to the February meeting, if anybody was in attendance, where Jared Trickey, the IDNR wildlife biologist, spoke. And he was really clear that he did not think it was necessary to hunt within Woodhaven. Or call deer from within Woodhaven. Sharpshooting is not hunting, but he felt definitely that it could be done from the outside. He would like to take some samples. He said he'd like to take like 15 deer from inside as a sampling to see if there was anything positive. But he felt we could work from the outside and be just as successful. He does not feel this is something to solve in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. He feels this is something that could be taken care of over time. If any of you have access, he spoke 2 or 3 different times during that meeting. If you want to go back and review that video, just listen to it to the end because he speaks again. And he's pretty clear that these are steps. Take a breath. Don't panic. It didn't happen overnight. We don't have to fix it overnight. And he's a trusted IDNR guy. So I just think that we shouldn't rush into stuff. And maybe, I know we're getting really close to making a decision on that. And just like everybody take a breath and maybe really think, do we want to start hard, and maybe do we want to maybe do some things conditionally? And anyway, that's just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. Didn't really want to bring up a conversation or an argument. I just wanted you to be aware that things were presented. I don't disagree with what was presented. I disagree with the order, and I think maybe we need to take a breath and really, really proceed, but slowly and wisely, cautiously. It'd be cheaper and could be just as effective if we handle it right.
Thank you. Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Sherry from 11170.
Can you get closer to the mic so they can hear you?
Okay. First of all, I was wondering, this is some information, I'm not real thrilled with the way the deer management program, the meetings were going. I don't know. Okay, is that better?
Step a little closer.
Step a little closer.
Just, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So, what I'm going to ask is, this is just one sheet, it's all kind of bullets pointed, and I think it's self-explanatory. It got cut off, so I had to put it front and back because there was no paper in not enough paper in the printer over there. But anyways, if you guys could just look at this before you go in for the vote on the deer thing, I would appreciate it.
Start on the short side and go to the long side.
Well, yeah, I just kind of, I guess it wouldn't matter, but yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to do it now, I just.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Did you still want to talk more? Okay.
Okay. So, I've been going around to the different property owners, and we started a petition asking that you don't allow any weapon use inside of Woodhaven. I've got about 200 handwritten that I spoke to one-on-one. And one thing, people were shocked. I mean, not just one, I'm talking every one of them was shocked that you would even consider bringing weapons into Woodhaven to use. They didn't care it was sharpshooters, they don't care who it was. because that's against the rules to use weapons in here. And I had several that, you know, they want it to be safe all the time, 24/7. They don't care. I mean, they were adamant. I had several. There's out of that many people, I'd say there was 3 or 4 that didn't want to sign. One was because he didn't have enough information. One was because the deer cut through his yard every day because there's no fence behind his property to deter him. Trying to think of the other one. The other one was kind of just a silly thing, and then the third one just didn't want to get involved. Fourth one, rather. So, people are very upset with this. And all I did was go up to them and say, can I talk to you? Are you aware of it? There was quite a few that were not aware of it, that this was even going on, which kind of baffles me a little bit, but it's what's happening. So I just wanted to let you know that this is where I'm going. I'm still collecting. I still have a couple other people that had papers I didn't receive. I also have online one. I haven't gone through it yet to sort it, but there's over 300 on there too. Well, there's like, I don't know, say almost 400, but I'm thinking about maybe 200-300 are probably from here, you know, property owners. So I just want to take that into consideration when you make your decisions. People are not taking this lightly, and I'm not either.
So how many signatures did you get?
Written, I have about 200.
And then online, you have about 400, but you're thinking about half of those are actually Woodhaven property owners, and the other half were just people that came across it.
Right. I couldn't get it downloaded because for whatever reason, I couldn't get it downloaded, printed up, so I couldn't go
Was
through
that
it.
on the change.org?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So, you're welcome. Thank you.
Way too tall for me. Lori Nowak, Section 17, Lot 199, 200, and I didn't plan to speak today, but I must. I have been here since 1974. I have watched the woods behind me be destroyed by the deer. Used to have the new saplings would come up. The forest was reforesting itself. That's not happening anymore. My forest is being destroyed. I am seeing the animals in my area act very strangely because they do not have food. The smaller animals are eating things they never used to eat because the deer have eaten all the lower stuff that they used to be able to eat. From what I understand, someday, like we spent a lot of money with the oak wilt problem. Our forest is changing and is going to become something we're not going to be happy with if we allow these deer to ruin our forest. Like I say, 1974, I had trees. You could not see the trailers behind me. 6 feet up, completely cleared out. Anything new trying to grow and replant, as a forest will reforest itself, gone. Something does need to be done because our forest is changing, and I don't think we're going to be too happy with what it's changing to.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Ball. Testing. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Mall. I live in Section 13, Lot 74 and 75. This has nothing to do with deer. This is even more important. Just the other day, I was entertained by the Anything That Floats race. Unfortunately, this has to do with golf carts. prior to getting into the anything that floats race, a car actually hit a golf cart and knocked it over with two patrons, an older lady and a young child. No seatbelts. Enough people got together to pick the car back up. My question is, what are we going to do about this? The next thing, what are we going to do about the children that are riding bicycles on the garden paths? Mini bikes, nothing. It's nothing done. My next question is, what is our insurance policy good for? Say somebody gets killed on Woodhaven Drive, and the operator of the vehicle that caused the accident has no insurance. Woodhaven's got millions of dollars. They'll pay, huh? No, that's not going to happen. My suggestion would be, first, let's take every month, make a publication in our newspaper that we receive of the vehicles that are involved with golf carts where there's actually injuries. Nobody knows about it. You're looking at me like this never happened. It did happen. Not the first golf cart. Not too long ago, another golf cart just came in through the gate, at the main gate, went down the hill and fell over. Did you know about that? I bet a lot of people here didn't know about that. But those kind of accidents are happening. Next, I happen to live on Cranhurst and Woodhaven Drive. It's suicide. It's absolutely suicide. Gas-powered golf carts. Electric golf carts going 40 miles an hour. Yes, I see it because I can watch the whole intersection. I never see any security go by. Oh no, you can sit in my lot and write out tickets all the time. Oh, they're too busy. So I don't know what you want to do, but I think that's a little bit more important than deer. Okay? So I'd appreciate anything that you people can come up with a solution. Thank you very much for your time.
Do we have anyone else? Okay, we'll move to the next item, which is adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn from the floor? I have a bunch of them. We'll go to the back and take Neil. Can you give your lot number? 7209. Thank you. Do I have a second? Second here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Who is this?
Joe, can I get your section lot number, please?
2193.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for coming. We do have a regular board meeting. We're going to probably take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll start the next meeting.